I'd like to acknowledge the veterans and current members of the military service with us today, as well as members of the Depoe Bay Fire District, U.S. Coast Guard Station, Depoe Bay, Oregon State Police, and Lincoln County Sheriff's Department. Also, we have an Air Force National Guard, 24 years, Raymond Roberts, has come from Idaho. In addition, I would like to recognize dockside charters and trade winds, as well as all the vessel captains and crew members of the Depoe Bay Fleet who help further the tradition of allowing spectators to board their vessels and become part of the heartwarming experience of paying tribute to SD by laying thousands of wreaths upon the surface of the ocean offshore this beautiful harbor. Today we all gather to continue the tradition started 69 years ago of Depoe Bay Annual Fleet of Flowers, in tribute to the memory of Roy Bauer and Jack Chambers, both were lost at sea on October 4th, 1936, as they fearlessly headed out on their boat, the Paraloo, to rescue a fellow fisherman and his young crew during a terrible storm. The vessel, the Nor'Wester, which was presumed lost at sea, had tied up to a wiffle buoy and survived the storm, making its way back to safety the next day. The bodies of both Roy and Jack Chambers were found later that morning. They gave their lives trying to save their fellow captain and his crew. Since the first Fleet of Flowers ceremony held on Memorial Day, 1946, this wonderful tradition honoring fishermen, men and women of the military, firemen, policemen, and everybody, and our everyday heroes who have paid the ultimate price, has been celebrated every year for 69 years. I am touched and amazed at such an understanding by so many volunteers over the years that keeps this beautiful tribute going. May we honor both the living and the dead on this Memorial Day here in Depoe Bay. Now it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to our mayor, the Honorable A.J. Matala, and acknowledge our past mayors and their contributions to our fair city. Ladies and gentlemen, A.J. Matala.
Dorothy, thank you. I want to welcome everybody once again on this sacred day, honoring our lost loved ones. In a few minutes, I'm going to give a tribute to our armed services. But before, I'd like to welcome our guests and participants who are here today, sharing in the remembrance and celebration of life of their loved ones. I would like to especially acknowledge Chief Depoe and his wife, lovely wife, Norma, that are here today. They are descendants of the original Chief Depoe. And Depoe Bay was a land or a grant given by the federal government in 1906. I wanted to mention that. Thank you, Chief. I'd like to express sincere thanks to the Fleet of Flowers Committee, U.S. Coast Guard Station, Depoe Bay, the charter boat captains, City of Depoe Bay staff and crew, and a multitude of volunteers who make this commemorative ceremony possible. At this time, I'd like to mention our own recent losses, starting with Gerald Hobbs, who was out of Depoe Bay for over 20 years aboard the fishing vessel Depoe. And most recently, we lost Randy Smeater, who served with Gerald. We have the loss of John West Farmer, who is the retired Coast Guard Depoe Bay Lifeboat Station. I didn't really know West that well, but I understand that he was one of the stellar people in our community as far as our Coast Guard is concerned. And anyway, in remembrance. Alice Brown, who served our community as an optometrist and city councilwoman. Sharon Haria, longtime resident and a very sweet lady. Chuck Mitchell and Jim Lynn, who both dearly loved fishing out of Depoe Bay. We also have David Kiefer of Chief Depoe's family, who has recently passed. He wanted to make one more fleet of flowers, but we know he's here in spirit. This is a tribute to the men and women of our armed forces who have selflessly given their lives. World War II, starting with the Second World War, I was a young boy, and my first memory was me walking with my dad down the sidewalk, licking on a dripping ice cream cone that he bought for me. My next recollection, was looking at him and him looking down at me, and after a brief goodbye, he boarded a troop truck. At that time, I wasn't really aware of what was happening. However, as the war went on, I became more aware of the world and its problems. I remember D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, with the Allies on their way to crush Hitler. Many thousands gave their lives on Decision Day. The ocean ran red with the blood of our fallen warriors. I might add that it's recorded in some of the words that were written about that horrible day. A wristwatch was found on one of our fallen warriors floating in the surf, and it had stopped at the time that serviceman gave his life. Next, on to the South Pacific, and the battles fought on the islands that were the stepping stones to the conquest of Japan. I remember the day the war ended, the joy and jubilance, the happiness, people running from door to door, announcing the event broadcast over the radio. What a day. Sadly, I remember also the despair of those that lost their loved ones. Korea, a war of attrition, many thousands more lives lost and given for our country. Vietnam, 50,000 lives given to the duration of that conflict. Many thousands more in the aftermath. The effects of Agent Orange and other chemicals, mental problems, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Our most recent victims of Vietnam from our area was Bill Stanley, who passed just recently after a lengthy illness with Agent Orange, and also most recently Mike Miller, of other stresses related to that conflict. Desert Storm and Iraq, thousands of men and women giving themselves, and the most prized possession of all, their lives. Afghanistan, so many lives given and more to be lost. In appreciation of Memorial Day, I salute our military. In closing on this day of remembrance, may we remember the stellar bright portions of our departed loved ones' lives. And now it is with great pleasure that I can now introduce our guest speaker, Lincoln County Commissioner Bill Hall. Thank you, Bill.